And next up, we have Trapped in a Web Novel as a Good for Nothing. I Woke Up as a Villain. It is a webcomic that we're reviewing today. It's going to be 55 chapters officially. Elsewhere, 76 chapters if you can find them. The first 2 chapters on Tapas, which is the official English publisher, are for free. The rest you got to unlock. So there we go. And here's the webcomic description. While working overtime through several nights, he fell asleep for a short while. When he woke up, he seemed to be possessing the villain of the web novel he was reading. Well, how typically cliché, to the point where I'd end up dead if I were allowed or were to follow the predetermined fate. Darn it. He need to find a way to survive. The first way to survive as a good-for-nothing villain in the web novel. Convince as many people as possible to be on my side. The second way to survive as a good-for-nothing villain in the web novel. Become strong enough to protect myself. Lastly, the third way to survive as a good-for-nothing villain in a web novel. Never become friendly with the proud and insane Returnee Master. But what should he do? Even before he possessed the body, the original owner already caused an incident. Use your money to kill the Returnee Master who has yet to regain his power? Are you crazy? Then who will stop the Demon King? And that is the actual description for both the web novel and for the webcomic. Then it says, this is the beginning of the modern-day survival dungeon raider fantasy story of Choi Yu-sung, the possessed villain who wants to live a laid-back lifestyle. This is the webtoon version of the author So-yeon Hyun's popular web novel, Trapped in a Web Novel as a Good-for-Nothing. So there we go. There's a web novel version of this. If you like this so much, you got to go ahead. But for me, I've never really enjoyed the web translated web novels as much as I have the manhwas and the webcomic versions. I just love the visual inclusion, the action that comes across so much better, especially for like describing the city scenes and the actual background stuff, which is often very lightly described in the light novel versions of these stories. And again, has an actual English translator, official, and that's going to be Tapas, so go check them out. But you can also find it other places if you want to go past that 55 marked chapters. Okay, this is a story where the main character is a normal person who finds himself trapped in the body of a villain of the story they were reading. The main character knows his character is fated to die at the hands of the hero unless he changes things, and he uses the RPG interface and his own foreknowledge of the story to change his character's path. It's a bit like a regressor story in that the main character uses knowledge he wouldn't normally have to gain an advantage and grow powerful. The story setting and pacing are pretty casual. The setting, and again, this is one of the things, there's another story called Omniscient Reader, that is a much darker and more fast-paced storyline. This is not dark. It's not the RPG apocalypse. It's just a regular modern setting where like people are, where there are dungeons and there are people who clear the dungeons. I think they're called, if I recall, rankers. It could be some other title. And the main character wants to be is one of those people who has these powers that are meant to be used to defeat the system, defeat the dungeons, and use that experience to grow powerful and get new skills and abilities and increase their class levels and stuff, or their class rankings. And that's mostly what the story focuses on. Focuses on the main character who's exploiting his foreknowledge to gain enough power to survive the challenge he knows is coming. And at the same time, he's trying to work out how not to change things so much that the story shifts and maybe the main character's actual story dies, because he's not the main character. He's supposed to be this secondary villain that dies early in the novel. So he can't change things too much. And so there's a nice, interesting balance of exploiting his foreknowledge, but also interacting with the character who's supposed to be the hero, and other characters who come in and out, villains in the story. And I really enjoyed personally the exploitation aspect of foreknowledge. That's always a fun thing for me because it leads you in directions where the main character becomes powerful, but he still has to work through it. And it's kind of nice. But again, this story is fairly casual in its revealing. There's no like fast-paced plot. There's no like immediate threat to the universe that anybody's trying to overcome. It's that threat is kind of like, oh, it's coming in the future at some point, and we're up to chapter 77, and we're still fairly casual in the main character just gaining powers. The RPG aspects are fairly light with letter rankings. Like it's instead of like level numbers or like levels or class levels, it's the main character has powers and skills that are ranked like A through F and then S and SS. So it's more of a Final Fantasy kind of ranking system. They describe overall power and skills instead of number of levels. The main character sees lots of notifications. There are plenty of those throughout the entire story, so it is RPG. And as far as the RPG side, he goes from a mediocre ranker to using his foreknowledge and about the novel world to gain unusual skills and boost in powers. And I like the combination and the smart thinking of the character to do and exploit those aspects. So good stuff there. Overall, I enjoy the casual reading pace. But again, it is pretty casual. It's one of my weekly reads as new chapters are translated and come out. So there we go. For me, good score 7.5 out of 10. A nice, good, solid, middle of the road, good review for Trapped in a Web Novel as a Good for Nothing, or as it's called on Tapas, I Woke Up as the Villain.